The headline to this story is Kim Williams telling News Limited to start embracing the digital future, but on the other hand, don't think that publishing is over because they're going to keep printing newspapers in hard copies as we've traditionally known. But basically, if you could imagine News Limited is like many other broadcasters, many other companies around Australia where they operate effectively on a federal system where you might have a rule of a certain operation in Victoria or Queensland or WA. What News Limited is saying, well, we want to centralise this, we want to nationalise all this, we don't want to have separate businesses calling separate shots. But at the same time, we want to be able to have distinct identities based on some of those state mastheads, the Herald Sun in Melbourne, the Courier Mail in Brisbane. But,
well, I was going to ask about how that would actually work, because those papers are fiercely parochial. If you look at the Courier in Brisbane, Herald Sun, for example, in Melbourne, they still will retain their individual identities, though.
It's an absolutely massive cultural change, and this change has been underway ever since John Hartigan stepped down as chief executive and Kim Williams moved over from Foxtel. Kim Williams, an entirely different operator from John Hartigan. John Hartigan, the traditional Murdoch disciple newspaper man. Kim Williams is the digital entertainment man. So earlier today, News Limited editors from around the country were briefed on how this would change. Certainly they've been told maintain those local identities. That's how newspapers are sold. But as far as the commissioning of national stories or international stories, that will come from a centralised desk. And what's more, it won't just be traditional newspapers, it will be digital. The digital arm will become part of everything they do. And up until now, digital has been one company inside the organisation competition against traditional publishing. So it's bringing the silos together, and as you say, part of that will be assisted by this $60 million computer system, which will mean that it'll be a one-size-fits-all.
And the redundancies, earlier this week Fairfax sort of shocked a lot of people by saying that there would be 1,900 redundancies. News Limited is making it clear that there are going to be job losses, but not really saying much about how many or where.
They haven't announced any today, no details at all. Kim Williams has said that there will be redundancies. We're expecting that perhaps these will be outlined in the weeks to come, not the days to come. He has made the point that he wants to see redundancies occur through natural attrition, but clearly these changes can't take place, particularly when you're consolidating 19 companies within News Limited down to 5, where you're bringing together marketing, advertising, editorial, distribution. There are a number of jobs that need to go, but it doesn't sound at this point as though it will be dramatic as what we heard from Fairfax earlier this week.
And at the heart of all of this news restructuring are some big changes to, in particular, business and finance reporting.
Yes, one of the key parts of this strategy unveiled this afternoon is that News Limited has done a deal worth just under $30 million to acquire Australian business media, and that's best known for the successful online publications Business Spectator, Eureka Report, which have been pioneered in large part by Alan Kohler, who's well known to ABC viewers as a finance commentator, but also before that Alan was a Fairfax editor at the Financial Review and The Age in Melbourne. But an interesting part of this story is that behind the scenes Alan has actually been a major player in the demise of traditional newspapers, given that Fairfax for a period were interested in buying Business Spectator and Eureka. The reported $31 million price tag was too much, so over to News Limited. News Limited has taken the plunge, but clearly out of the demise of traditional newspapers, Alan Kohler and his high-profile colleagues Robert Gottliebsen, Stephen Bartholomew, and also the private equity backers will become reasonably wealthy beneficiaries out of the demise of traditional newspapers.
So a final question, Peter Ryan. This all began this week with the Fairfax announcement, and has there been any update on the situation there?
Not within the last 24 hours, but the urgency of the Fairfax restructure is becoming quite urgent. And earlier today I spoke to Allan Gray, which is a fund management company which owns 9% of Fairfax. The chief executive of Allan Gray told me that if the Fairfax restructure fails to make any difference in the company's fortunes, that the very real possibility looms that the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age in Melbourne might have to be closed or sacrificed so the company can really start focusing on the more profitable regional publishing businesses and also those digital businesses. So there's a lot going on.
Still a lot of change to come in the Australian media. Peter Ryan, our business editor, thank you very much.